Welcome everyone to this daily Sidereal Astrology forecast. This is for Wednesday, June 1st. Welcome to June, everyone. 2016. I'm Athen, and this is for Sidereal. If you are new to the channel, be sure to check out the link because the signs are different. All right, so we are still approaching that new moon, which will be over the weekend. So we are in this balsamic phase, which is that lowering of energy time, especially with the moon in Pisces. The moon has been in Pisces these past couple days, which is really about that receptivity and reflection energy. So it's a good time to allow that energy to die down a little bit, maybe get some of that R&R, rest and relaxation. And, this is a good time to reflect, too, in terms of where we might want to see new beginnings around the corner. And being open, of course, to the divine process and things that are larger than self, and seeing that things are happening in a much larger picture. And I think that's going to be emphasized this part of the week, this Wednesday up and through the new moon. And the reason is we have a lot of Neptunian energy. We have this Grand Cross that's forming up with the new moon. And today the sun will be squaring up to Neptune. So there's a lot of watery energy, with the moon in Pisces, the sun squaring up to Neptune. It's an excellent second half of the week for really working on our spiritual development. This is particularly with the sun squaring up to Neptune. This is working with uncertainty, right? And the best way, and as far as I know, the only way to really do this is to connect to the present moment, right? Really connect to what is, to our beingness. The sun is our being. This is our very personal part of the personality, our self-expression, our outward self. The energy, the prana, but squaring up to Neptune kind of puts a sort of screen on that, a sort of haze, a sort of fog. And if we're trying too much to kind of have things figured out and try to see things, in terms of the mind, then it can create uncertainty. It can create doubts and all those other manifestations of a over or under extreme of Neptune. But the best way to work with this is to really work on that spiritual development, whether it's through meditative practices, whether it's through getting some of that R&R, whatever it is that really helps us connect to our beingness and to the present moment and for things, for the way things are, in the present. So that's going to be, I think, the strongest energy of the day, again, especially because the moon is in Pisces, really accentuating all of this. And again, the balsamic phase, which is another emphasis of this, which is the end of the last lunar cycle. In the analogy of the garden, this is like the winter time of the lunar cycle. This is the time of clearing the garden, right? Clearing our lives to make space for what will be new beginnings. But we do have to reflect. We do have to create that space and perhaps, again, have that lowering energy time to have that energy cultivated and rested and then recouped in that sense. So it's a very spiritual day, and I think this is going to be the emphasis of the week of really working on particularly our spiritual development, and that's the best way of working with these squares. This whole Grand Cross with this new moon is going to be 4 squares with it, the Grand Cross. And so with this one, it's particularly working on just the square, the constructive approach with that spiritual take on life, with being, with presence, and acceptance. Now, Mercury is going to be trining up to the North Node today, so today can be excellent for learning. I think there's a lot to learn about our life path. This isn't that personal with the North Node, but I think any type of learning, and this has been really the emphasis this first half of the week, with Mercury trining up to Pluto, still somewhat within orb too, just making it really excellent for using the mind and communicating things. And it has been in a very deep and profound way, perhaps, of uncovering the truth. But here it could be just that inquisition, that inquisitive nature, could be very supportive towards the life path, treating life as a learning process, and all of that flexibility and adaptability can really support what is this very constructive time of this Grand Cross energy. Now, the moon is going to be going over Uranus for the middle part of the day, so all of us will be feeling this bit of wanting to have more freedom in our life. And with Uranus and Pisces, what Uranus has been showing us here is that true freedom comes from that presence. It's true freedom, the inner type, our true self, is accessed in the present moment. And as we connect to that, as we have acceptance in our life, and we allow ourselves to be more receptive to the flow of life, then that can liberate us. That can really accentuate this freedom, right? So if you are feeling a bit of what sometimes can be impulsiveness or jitteriness with the moon going over a very high frequency planet like Uranus, I think cultivating this Pisces quality, which is what Uranus is showing us, of all this, again, spiritual, work and activity, can be very spiritually liberating. And of course, that Uranus is still within an orb of squaring up to Pluto, so it's all good, especially the first half of the day, to have a bit of that awareness of the self, seeing where we might have attachments, right, where we might have fears, inhibitions, these kinds of things, to bring the attention, bring the awareness to them, so that they're no longer running the show, they're no longer controlling us, and we have that awareness of them, and they can naturally flow in a healthy way. And that's really the case with Uranus too, is having that awareness of the emotions, because what might be that erraticness or that freedom really trying to come through, having presence helps that stay balanced as well. So that's the energy in a nutshell. And of course, we do have the Sun and Venus in Taurus, so there is still that energy gained through the earthly side of life, really rooting ourselves in our senses. And this is a big part of how Taurus does support Pisces. It's a natural sextile with Pisces. And this is about, oftentimes you hear spiritual teachers talk about connecting to your senses. Like if it's meditation, it's really, focusing on the breath, or focusing on, the sounds and the breeze hitting your skin. These are all the senses of life. And this is what Taurus is helping us really root into. So connecting to our senses and rooting ourselves into earth, into nature, I think is excellent, in moderation and balance with that Venus combust the sun, but can be not only grounding but enjoyable and a source of energy and prana. All right. So the bulk of the day is going to be this more spiritual connotation, balsamic phase, lowering, clearing the space with Pisces, receptivity, presence, which can be very freeing with that Uranus, and the strongest aspect being the sun squaring up to Neptune, really working with this spiritual development, taking whatever actions are necessary within to have more acceptance in our life, which does lead to that spiritual liberation. All right, so I hope you guys have a fantastic day. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you all tomorrow.